Wants to make a deal in principle, but have to make a deal? No, China has politics too, and they're not going to, for example, Sarah, totally change their economic model simply to get a deal.
Will they therefore suffer significantly? Do you think the president would therefore go through with the next leg of elevated tariffs?
If he does, they will pay a price, as will we. Trade wars are, there are no winners, as the cliche goes, contrary to what the president predicted. They're not easy to fight. They're not easy to win. China will pay a price. We will pay a price. The world economy will pay a price.
Is there any lesson from what happened with the Mexico tariff threat, the fact that he didn't follow through with it, the fact that he seemed to get the concessions that he wanted on immigrations, as it relates to the China scenario, or not?
Well, I don't think it helps the president, because what he got from Mexico, it's not clear how much was new. And then also we have to see whether it's actually implemented. Mexico doesn't really have the National Guard up to speed to place on its southern border. We'll see what happens with the processing of asylum claims and so forth. And the fact that it was walked back against pressure from the Congress, I'm not sure that really strengthens his hands. Plus the fact that it was introduced right at the same time we're trying to get this new agreement through the Congress, it raises questions about whether we're a reliable negotiating partner when it comes to trade.
Does the president, though, have a point, whether he's talking about imposing tariffs on Mexico or on China or even on the EU, even if there is a price to be paid by the U.S., as you've already suggested, that the price in a relative sense is going to be less than any one of those competitors?
Again, I'm not sure how that helps us. Even if others might pay more of a price on occasion than we do, if they're willing to pay that price, I don't see how that leaves us better off. Again, it's, what we're seeing is the overuse of certain tools in American foreign policy, tariffs as well as sanctions. And I think there's as well the question of long-term consequences of doing this. But I don't see us, for the most part, emerging stronger as a result.
What do you mean long-term consequences?
Oh, I think this is going to increase the tendency for others in the trade area to try to find certain ways of avoiding the United States. I think at some point it'll raise interest in finding alternatives to the dollar as the world's global reserve currency. If the United States is so willing to weaponize the tools of international economics, others are going to want to try to find ways to reduce their vulnerability.
Where do you stand ultimately, though, on the big headline trade issue of the U.S. and China, and whether there is going to be a deal before the next election, or whether both sides are just going to stub each other out?
I think there can be a deal, but we would have to slightly lower our sights. We're not going to get China to cut out most of its subsidies, but if we're willing to take something less than that, then yes, I think we can get a deal. And then the real question is how well China implements it. Again, I think both sides would like a deal in principle, but neither side now can be seen for political reasons to be caving into the other.
Just quickly, Richard, where do you think the tariff and trade issue goes into the election? It seems like Democrats are pretty much in agreement with President Trump on these hardline tactics.
You're absolutely right. In some areas, it's very hard to see a lot of light between Trumpism and what several of the Democrats, particularly those on the left, are saying. It might even, Sarah, be one of the reasons the president's being so muscular in this area. He doesn't want to get out-tariffed by the Democratic challengers, particularly in some of the Midwestern states. Being tough on trade has got to be good politics.